Oh shit, oh, there we go, dude. Oh shit, it does it for me. Big dick ban. Big dick ban. Ah, fuck you, dude.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in. I am Ailey of U3 Studios. I'm the graphics and social media manager. We build websites, custom solutions, we handle content, and all of that fun digital stuff. Today with me is the absolute kick-ass Rebecca.
Hi. Good intro, thanks. I like it.
Well, you use kick-ass a lot, and you are kick-ass, so keeping you on brand.
That's the idea.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn. You have a fantastic presence on LinkedIn. I've followed you for a while on there. We've connected recently and we chat, I'd say fairly regularly. So today you were going to come on and talk a little bit about LinkedIn, how to use it, and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've been on LinkedIn, like a lot of people, many years, and it just was a bit of a dormant. I had a kind of CV type style profile on there and did nothing with it, because I think, like a lot of people, just joined it years ago when it was a thing. It was just, everyone joins it if you've got a job. But I never really used it. And then about 3 years ago, I can't remember who, but someone mentioned, oh, LinkedIn's like, a good place for for businesses, like, if you could build your business and like get some more clients from there. I thought, oh, maybe, I don't know, I'll have a look into it. It started on it very small and like got 2 likes or whatever and thought, oh, this is a bit crap. But then I just kept going. I came across a few people that were giving out good kind of free information of how to get started, and yeah, it kind of all started there, really. And yeah,
Cool.
now
I
I just really
think
enjoy it. And I think that's what, if you can enjoy what you're doing, then that counts for a lot, I think.
Oh, definitely. Like, I was on LinkedIn very early on. I barely used it. And then I think over the pandemic, it just kind of exploded. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to use it a bit more and see what I can do with it. So my content definitely has changed over the last year and it's still changing. So anyway, so let's jump into our first question that we have here, which is, how should someone present themselves on LinkedIn? Now, I know we have a lot of like, this isn't Facebook, the Facebook police, and all of that going on. But in your opinion, how do you feel that someone should present themselves on LinkedIn?
I think for this, there isn't a definitive answer in other than be yourself. I honestly think that's the most important thing. And I think trying to fit yourself into any kind of box of what you think people want to see or should perceive you as is where people go a little bit wrong. Obviously, you need to think about, how you want to come across if you're a business, like you're representing your business or whatever, what is going to appeal to your ideal client. Or if you're on there looking for work, obviously what's going to appeal to potential employers. But you need to be yourself at the end of the day, because otherwise you're going to end up with clients that you don't get on with or a job that you hate or whatever. Like, so, it isn't Facebook, thank God, because Facebook's abysmal. Sorry to people watching it on Facebook, but I'm not a fan. Like, I'm on there, but so I'm not a big fan of it. I find LinkedIn is a bit more, I don't know, I was going to say chilled, but I guess it's not chilled in many ways. It is for me, but I think it depends on who you follow. People who moan about it are obviously not following the right people. They moan about the content in their feed, but you reap what you sow. Like, if you're liking or commenting on stuff that annoys you, then you'll get to see more of that stuff that annoys you.
It makes me happy.
It
It makes me happy when people do that. Like, if someone comments on something, so like if I know someone and they comment, this isn't Facebook or something horrible, I'm like, enjoy seeing more of their content because you've just told the algorithm that you like it.
Exactly. I mean, like it's so dumb. Like I get it. I don't get too much of it, but people will stop on my stuff like this is not appropriate. So I do pole dancing and I put stuff on there about that, which obviously isn't related to my CV writing, but it's a huge part of what I do in my life. So I mention it, and it's also inspired like quite a few women to start doing it and trying it themselves and stuff. But you get the odd person like, what's this doing on here? This is like nothing to do with LinkedIn. I'm like, well, then don't look at it or don't comment on it or like mute me or block me or whatever. Like that's your choice.
Yes.
So
It's this, at the end of the day, it's your choice to comment on something. It's your choice to like something. It's your choice to scroll past something. It's not like the content's going up and you've got a gun to your head and someone's going, you must comment on this. Like, it's
exactly.
just so
And
silly.
so with presenting yourself, it's like the more you can be, then the more people like you will find, and that that get on with you and stuff. So it works.
Like I do my hashtag bun date where I put pictures up of my bunnies, and the amount of connections that I've had from it have been fantastic because people are like, oh, this is nice and refreshing to see on my feed. It's not just business, it's not just doom and gloom of the world, it's not just statistics, it's just these
Exactly.
cute
People
little
want things that'll make them smile.
it's just
Like
these
you
two
post a
cute
picture
little
of some
fluffy
cake
bunnies.
or something. It's like, yeah. I post about ice cream because I really like ice cream. It's part of my branding now because I started with ice cream selfies basically, and it kind of got incorporated into my brand. But obviously that makes people smile. People like ice cream, so actually people quite like talking about it. Not constantly, obviously, but it just breaks it up a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think having a little bit of that personal side as well gives you the chance to break the ice a little bit. Like,
Yeah, of
I
course it
know that
does.
I've had some people inquire about what E3 Studios does because they've seen the bunnies, and the conversation starts out with, "How are the little bunnies today?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're fantastic. They're doing this, that, and next thing." Then the next thing I know, they're asking about what E3 Studios does. And it's just a way of breaking the ice, showing that you're a human and you're approachable, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be either or. You don't have to be all business or all personal.
Yeah.
Like, a mix is really good, I think.
Yeah. So, in other words, if you're going to present yourself, just be yourself.
Yeah, I think so. Honestly,
Like,
I think people get too het up on, it should be this, it should be that, and you've got to be professional and blah blah.
Yeah.
And professional is as professional as you want it. Like the definition of professional is like, getting paid to do a job or whatever, isn't it? Like, so
Yeah.
it doesn't say you have to wear a suit and tie. So
Yeah,
if you do
exactly.
want to, that's fine as well. Like, you don't have to be like out there or whatever.
Yeah,
But just whatever's true
go
to you,
do
really.
it. It's at the end of the day, like, if someone doesn't like who you are, then working with them is going to be very, very difficult
Yeah,
because
precisely.
they're going to have their walls up. They're going to be like, I'm not telling you X, Y, Z, and you might need to know X, Y, Z to do the work.
And exactly. And as soon as I get referrals, actually, it's something I've started to do because it's obviously amazing if people refer people to you and someone says, oh, so and so told me about you. Like, I know you've been brilliant. You sorted out their CV or whatever. And I used to get so excited about referrals, and I still massively appreciate them, by the way. Don't stop doing that. But
keep doing it.
I am definitely now, I've got a clear process where as soon as I get someone like that who said, oh, so and so told me about you, I'll say, go and read some of my content. Go and read my profile, go and check out my last few posts, then come back and speak to me if you want to. Because I know not everyone is going to like my stuff. Like, there's a little bit of swearing, not much because it's LinkedIn and LinkedIn don't like it. But, you can tell what kind of person I am from the way I write. I'm quite straightforward and maybe a little bit blunt sometimes and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that sort of informal style, then you're not going to get on. We're not going to work well together. So there's no point just taking them on because someone referred them.
Yeah.
You still have to establish whether there's going to be a good client relationship there.
Yeah.
I think that is really important.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of falls into what are your thoughts on personal brands and what that means. So that's a kind of a phrase that's, I'd say, comes up kind of this year more than anything else. This personal brand. What is that to you? What does that mean? Because everyone has a different of opinions on what a personal brand is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you work for yourself, your personal brand, your business brand tends to blend into almost the same thing. But even if you're working for a business, or if you've got a clear like separate business brand, or you're looking for a role, people still talk about personal brand like as it applies to everyone. And I think because we've all got a social media presence now, like somewhere, here, Instagram, wherever it is, that whatever you're putting out, like, and people are seeing, assuming they're not seeing you in real life as well, that comes across as a personal brand to me. I think it gets created whether you like it or not. Like, people, whether it's intentional or not, people get basically an opinion of how, what your thoughts are on things, and like how you come across and what you believe in. And I feel like the more intentional you can make it, the better. So it's better to think, okay, well, hang on, how is all this coming across? Like, try to be a bit more objective about it. I can always say to job seekers, do a little bit of a social media audit before you start applying for jobs, and check everything you've got on your social media is what you want people to see. Because actually, that drunk video you put up like a couple of years ago or whatever might not be that appropriate now. Or, do you know what I mean? You've been tagged in something that actually you don't really want to be tagged in. And it's really important to remember that that's quite often the only impression someone gets of you. And so, having like a clear idea of what you do believe in and what your ethos is on life and stuff, and then getting that across is quite important. It's not, obviously, it can be to do with what you look like. Like, I'm quite lucky, and I say lucky, but my glasses and my red hair or whatever make me stand out. And actually, when I go to networking events, which is a rare event, but when I do, people normally recognize me if they follow me on LinkedIn. So they're like, oh yeah, you're Rebecca. Because it's an obvious kind of look and brand, like it's quite strong branding in that respect. But I do think, even if you haven't got that, you can still come across really strongly because of the things you say, and that maybe if you have consistent colors on your posts and things like that, like, it's quite important to think about for everyone, really.
Yeah, definitely. Like, for me, a personal brand is literally who you are. Like, for me, people know that I love bunnies. And then when I did those posts about the rescue bunnies, people learned more about what my sort of views are on this kind of thing. The stuff about, things like everyday things. So, like, say or news events like the Ukrainian war, we saw a massive split in how people reacted to it. So, like, some people are like, well, I can't really stop my business because I've got bills to pay, which is obvious. Like, if we stopped, then the world would come to an end, kind of thing. And doing all of these kind of things, like how you react to upcoming news, how you react to political stuff, what your stances are on certain topics, all come into what a personal brand is. It's not necessarily you need a logo to be a personal brand. It's literally who you are. Like, if you're quite a religious person, then that's going to be part of your brand.
Exactly. It's those core values you've got, because they're going to come out in stuff, whether you mean them to or not. They're bound to.
Oh, they will, because
every comment you make, gets seen as well. That's what people sometimes forget. Like, every post you like, someone can go and see that you've liked that post. So, if you're liking some awful, like, racist, homophobic trash that unfortunately we still see, from time to time, then, someone can see that.
Yeah, so, and as well as, that's a good point, as well as the fact that people can see your comments, can see what you've commented on. If you're employed by someone and you're commenting very racist stuff, you're commenting very hateful things, they can actually go to your employer and be like, look, this is what your company's being represented by.
Yeah, and people do. Of course, people do that, and they should. They should. At the end of the day, I believe actions have consequences. So if you're going to post stuff or comment stuff like that, then the consequences are on your head.
Exactly. So it is a case of being aware of what you stand for when it comes to personal brands, being aware of who you are, and then also keeping in mind, if you're going to comment something hateful, there's going to be a repercussion.
Yeah, so, and rightfully so.
Yes, rightfully so. So if you hear all these triggers on these brandings and all of that kind of stuff, these key phrases of being a personal brand and work on your personal brand, don't get hung up on it, because it is literally just who you are.
Yeah, exactly. So you can, go into that as much as you want or don't want, like,
Yeah. Like, if you just want to show the pure business side of you, then go show the pure business side. If you want to add in the personal stuff, add the personal stuff. It's the beauty of social media, is that it's up to you. They are just giving you the platform. It's up to you what you put out.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be comfortable. Obviously it's good to push yourself out your comfort zone to an extent, like doing video or live or whatever, but you still need to be comfortable essentially with what you're doing. Like, it's no good putting up super vulnerable posts just because someone else was doing it and you felt like you need to do that, and actually then you have a panic attack over like people reading the stuff about you, and it's just no point. Like, just don't have to do that. Like, it's okay if you don't want to, you don't have to.
I find it difficult to relate to people who post photos of themselves crying, because I'm like, so in amongst all of your sorrow and all of your everything you're going through, you've taken that like 5 minutes to go snap and then post it, and I'm like, if anyone struggles, the majority of them do keep that quite private, because it's a private thing, it's very emotional. So when I do see it, I'm just kind of like, so in amongst all of that, taking a picture.
I know, yeah.
So I find that very hard to relate to.
I suppose sometimes people putting something up really vulnerable like that can really help someone else. Like,
exactly.
maybe,
So it's
think,
like,
someone else feels like that about that as well, or someone
exactly,
else
and that is
terrible.
a fantastic example of, different people react to different things.
Yeah, of course.
Like for me, I don't really relate to it, because to me, if I'm struggling or having difficulties, that's a personal thing. I keep it close. But for some people, it's a way of reaching out and getting help.
Yeah, of
So
course.
it all depends on like your perspective, and you have to remember that when you're putting the content out, that everyone's got a different perspective, everyone's got a different opinion, everyone reacts to things differently. So yes, no matter what you put out, you're probably going to get someone being a meanie on it, because that's just the way people are.
It is, and I think if you put stuff out there, then you've got to expect it and grow a bit of a thick skin about that, because there's always going to be people that are critical, whatever you do.
Oh, yeah. Like,
you could be the
so
best
critical.
person in the world, someone's going to be critical of it because they won't like it. It's just the way it is. I also think about talking about the vulnerability side of it as well, that it's a really valid point to remember that actually, if you're a business, and I'm not saying this, you just remember how that's getting you to come across. Like, I tend to try, and because I do post vulnerable stuff sometimes about things I've struggled with, I try and do it in a way, this is something I've overcome, or this is something I'm dealing with, but these are the things that I use to, like, make things easier, or whatever.
This is what I've learned from going through this situation.
Yeah, rather
Here's
than,
my
oh
advice.
my God, my life's ending, like this terrible thing's happened, all the work's gone to shit, like I can't cope with clients, help me, because if you put something like that out there, how attractive is that going to be to a potential client? It's not going to be, realistically.
And that's coming back to being like, make sure you're putting out the stuff that you want people to see and react to, and also accepting the fact that there is repercussions of whatever you put out. It could be positive or negative. It's just,
I think
it's
it's
just
something
the
to be
nature
mindful
of
of.
things. Yes. Cool. So that kind of comes into the next question that we had for you, which is, what should someone focus on when it comes to posting on LinkedIn? So I know that you mentioned to me that there's recently been people going back to just purely business posts, and you're like, it should be a bit more of a mix.
Well, I mean, I think this is where it comes down to your being clear about what you want from LinkedIn and why you're there. So Jordan actually has said hello in the comments, so I assume he's watching.
Hey, Jordan.
Is a perfect example of this, because he has gone from being like putting a lot of personal stuff on, and then changing and being like totally business focused now, and being really clear and actually building his business really well on there, because now he supports people with LinkedIn. So it's not about there's a right or wrong for me. I think it's about being really intentional about what you're doing. So don't just do it because someone else is doing it. Be like, oh, I have to put personal stuff because that's what everyone's told me. For me personally, I know why I'm on LinkedIn. So yes, I'm on there for my business to get new clients, but that is not my sole reason. Whereas for some people it is. Some people, and that's fine. It's their sole reason. They're on there to get clients to make money, and that is it. And that's fine. That's perfectly valid. For me, I'm on there for a mix of things. Like I'm autistic with ADHD, as you know, and that's one of the reasons I want to talk about that and raise awareness of it. Like, my children are autistic as well, so I want to raise awareness and kind of, have kind of support with other parents, and them support me and me support them kind of thing, where it's that kind of like solidarity and stuff, and sharing those things. Also sharing about things like autism and ADHD has got me clients, because they might have children that the same, or they've got, they're neurodiverse as well, and that, so I think that works anyway. But also, it's like building a community of people. I also want to be like a positive, like, influence. Like, I hate to say influence in any way, but you know what I mean. Like, if my post makes someone smile, which they do sometimes, that's a really nice, good thing. So I'm not there just for business, and I know I'm not, so that's okay. I do a mix of stuff because of that reason, and that's what works for me. But I do think it's really important to just be honest with yourself about why you are on there, because if you do, it's mixing up the content's great, but I think don't be scared to write business posts and be like, well, this is what I sell for this much, contact me, or whatever. Most people know if you're a business, that's why you're trying to get clients or whatever. So I think being honest about that isn't a problem. Like, don't be scared of like telling people what you do, because like that's just crazy. Like, you could build up a big following of people that may have no idea what you actually offer, which is not really that helpful.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's LinkedIn is kind of, originally it was a professional network where you connected with people, and then that was it. There was no conversations. Now, it's a platform to not just connect, but it's also to represent yourself, represent what your business does, tell people about what you're doing and selling in terms of business or personal, depending on what you're aiming for. Like, I've seen some really cool posts when it's come to people looking for work, and they're like, right, I'm looking for a job, but here's all the stuff that I have done, and here's some personal stuff about me to help and see if I'll fit in with your team. And I think that's great.
Yeah, of course it is. At the end of the day, people are not just the job they do. We're not robots that just go around doing jobs. Like, we're people as well, and we've got lives outside of that. And actually, if you're going to work somewhere, you want them to be able to appreciate that. Like, if you've got a family, you've got other interests and stuff, like, if they're only going to want you there just working like 24/7, that's not going to be good news, is it?
It's not worth it.
If they're not going to be cool if you need a day off because a pet or a child is sick or whatever it is, like something emergency happens, then it's probably not the place for you anyway. So
yeah, and I think that's a big thing as well when it's come to the pandemic, has been that we've seen the transition from like the work from home and remote working kind of things. And we've also seen companies either adapt really well to this or fail terribly. And LinkedIn's fantastic for us because you can go through a company's profile and see where the employees are. And you can see if they're having a good experience or a bad experience based on what they post. And it's kind of like a fantastic way of vetting a company as well, as going, okay, so let's go see what so and so's posting about the company, if they post anything about the company, and decide if this is kind of the atmosphere that I want to be in. So I think businesses tend to forget that their employees are probably their best advocates.
absolutely, and it's the ultimate glass door, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, people, someone posted about this the other day, I can't think who it was, but they were saying if you really upset someone and they're leaving or whatever, and you've really you've not left things on a good footing, or whether you've done something bad, like as a business, and they've left, and it's all, you can't just brush it under the carpet. They'll be out there on social media telling people about you, and even if they're not doing it in a post, like, you can see where someone's worked, and someone might contact them and say, oh, I saw you worked with such and such, like, what was it like there? Which is a perfectly valid thing to do, because why wouldn't you do that? It's like a bit of due diligence, really. And so they're going to be honest about why they left or whatever. And if you kind of tried to screw them over or whatever, they're probably going to tell other people about it.
Yeah, I know of one company that was very terrible to graphic designers. Everyone else was fine in this company, but the graphic designers, they just didn't have time for. And when people contacted them and gave them messages asking previous employees what it's like, literally all the previous designers were like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't apply, stay away, run away. And if you think of that as also a representation of a company's brand, then that is the worst representation you could possibly have.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look what happened with Brewdog.
exactly.
Like the open letter or whatever with all
amazed.
those ex-employees. I mean, that was
I am amazed
savage.
that there hasn't been any tribunals or anything like that from it. I was like, what the
Yes,
hell?
interesting, isn't it? That's kind of like gone away a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, people seem to be forgetting that and going back to them, and I'm like, do you remember this? Like, just keep that in mind when you go there. Just, if you want to go work with them, cool, but just, keep in mind that this happened on a mass scale.
Yeah, whereas it seems like somewhere like Gymshark or sort of local to me, because they were starting in Birmingham. They seem amazing. Like, I haven't heard a bad word said about them. Like, people that have worked there and do work there have said how amazing it is and how, the environment and the culture seems brilliant. So I think Ben's done a really good job there. I mean, that seems really genuine. Like,
yeah, it seems so genuine because like employees are saying about how much they've worked in different gyms or things like this, or they've done different fitness stuff, but they've never had the sort of community that's been built around Gymshark. And all of that kind of thing is fantastic representation of your brand. And like I say, your employees are your best advocates. Like, if you're looking for staff and an employee can refer someone over, great. That cuts out some of the searching for you.
yeah, and at the moment, a lot of places are struggling to get people. So
yeah, and to me, some of them are struggling because, one, the wages don't add up, especially with everything that's going on. There's also the big culture issue that people have now become aware that they can work from home. They don't have to work in an office. Some people much prefer it, especially people who are more introverted prefer to work from home than they do in an office. And people are aware of their values now.
yeah,
The companies
exactly.
in lockdown let them go and then tried to bring them back on like worse terms. It speaks volumes, and if with people knowing what their values are, it's going to keep leaving these gaps in these industries desperate for work, because these industries just have not caught up with that being sort of the new thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, hospitality especially has massively struggled. Like, I've been to a few hotels in the last couple of years, and they've had a nightmare because they just haven't got enough staff. Like, loads of people left, or were on furlough or stuff, and then never came back because they went and did something else. And there's no way they're coming back to that kind of job because the wage just and the hours and whatever, none of it stacks up.
Yeah. So I guess we can kind of jump into, how do you generate leads on LinkedIn? So we're talking about LinkedIn, we've been talking about personal brands, how people can relate to you and stuff. But how does LinkedIn generate your leads? How do you do it?
Good question. I think it's a range of things. I think posting about your business and what you do and literally just asking people to message you, like, if they're interested, can work really well. Or posting a link. Like, I've got a lead magnet of my free CV template, which is on my website, and so I have that, and you can now have a web address on your, like, a web link on your profile, which is quite useful. So I've got that, and also can post about that and say, can we get a free thing, sign up onto my my email list. And then obviously that's someone in the pipeline. Like, for direct leads, where I get like DMs from people most days asking about CV stuff, it's partly from being like getting known for something. So I'm known for being a CV writer, and I'm known by quite a lot of people for that now, because obviously I've been really consistent and posting about it, and I haven't like changed what I do like a million times. And I think having a really good profile counts for a lot, because obviously you have to have a clear headline that tells people what you do, because otherwise if you're commenting or posting and your headline's there every time, if it doesn't really say what you do or stand out in any way, then no one's going to even click onto your profile. Assuming they click onto your profile, it then needs to get people, from that initial interest into their messaging you or doing something. So obviously they're having an about section that's clear, like what you offer, it gives people options and a clear call to action at the end. And that's my biggest tip for everyone with the about section, is have a call to action. If you're looking for work, whatever you've got your about section, there should be some kind of call to action at the end. So whether it's like DM me, whatever, or if you're looking for work like outwardly, you're happy to shout about it, then you can be like, if you've got any opportunities like this, please message me, or put your phone number on, whatever it is. Or if you're not outwardly looking, which is like, obviously get a lot of clients that are already in a job, they're not necessarily shouting about the fact they're looking for another one. You can still put, I'm interested in networking with other people in my industry, please click connect. And it gives people something to do, like after because if they've gone to the trouble of reading your about section, you need to give them that action point at the end. And I think it's an amalgamation of having all those things, like the cover video, profile video, whatever it is they call it now, a clear banner that backs up everything else. Having all your skills on there. You should have 50 skills maxed out. Obviously your career experience counts for something, having that on there. All those things like mold together to create a really strong profile, a strong picture of you. But ultimately you have to be out there and consistently showing up. Otherwise people won't know who you are to click on your profile. Like, you could have the best profile in the world, but if no one's ever going on it,
then they're never going to know. It's and it's not just about the posting as well. It's also like commenting on things as well.
Absolutely.
You've got to interact. There's no one can, like, anyone can post whatever they want, but if you're not interacting with anyone, you're not actively seeking new connections, you're not actively trying to grow your network, then get off LinkedIn.
Although I think some people do make it work by just posting and not commenting. If they're very clear about what they're posting and they just carry on with that. But personally, I prefer like commenting and replying to people and stuff and building those relationships, because that works better for me. I also think people who are maybe scared of posting content, especially if you're first starting out, you don't really know what to put and you're not really sure what's going on, is comment instead. Like, comment on other people's stuff. So look for industry relevant stuff. So I always say to people who I help with LinkedIn, like my clients who are obviously looking for jobs, say look for stuff that's a story like in your industry that's relevant. So it might be in LinkedIn news or just another popular post about it, and then leave a really good comment. So like something interesting or insightful, like sharing your experience on it. And if you consistently do that, then you'll start to build, people wanting to connect with you. You build a network of people who are relevant to you, not just random followers, but like people who actually are in your industry or, are interested in what you're interested in. And that can work really well. I mean, it's a bit of a slow grow sometimes, a bit of a slow burner, but it's a good way to start. Just set aside a bit of time every day to actually comment on relevant stuff to you, because I think that you never know where opportunities are going to come from. And also if you build a network of people that work in the same sector, then opportunities may well come from one of them.
It's I always say that the collaboration is more important than looking at competition, because you never know when your skills could be needed by someone who works in the same industry as you. You never know when a big project comes in for one of you, and you could reach out to someone else and get help. Because you're one person, or maybe you're a small team, or maybe you just don't have someone in your team that has those skills, but you've connected with so-and-so on LinkedIn and they consistently post or consistently show that they can do this. So you're obviously going to reach out to them if they've seen that.
Yeah, definitely. It's like just showing yourself as an expert in the field, isn't it, of whatever that is. And I totally agree with the whole collaboration versus competition thing. Like, I know who the other good CV writers are, and I wouldn't hesitate to refer someone to them if I think they're better suited, or I'm too busy, and vice versa. And that's the best way to be with it, really, I think, rather than you see some people like hitting out at their competitors constantly, and it's just not a good look, in my opinion.
It's just not. To me, if someone's hitting out at their competitors all the time, it makes them seem very insecure.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes me kind of question, what is my experience actually going to be like? Like, if I was, say, to join their team and they're bad-mouthing an ex-employee all the time, what does that mean when I leave? Like, will I then be that employee that they're bad-mouthing?
Yeah, exactly.
Or if they badmouth competitors, like, what if I end up going and working for a competitor? Does that mean that I would be included in that badmouthing kind of thing?
Yeah, it's funny actually. I saw someone the other day posting about Like, there's a lot of these posts that are very anti-client posts. When you sort of have the thing like all the funny memes of like, oh yeah, the perfect client does this and the not so perfect
Yeah.
client does that, and all this stuff, and it's like you're slagging off clients basically.
Yeah,
It's like from that side of things. I know they can be funny and relatable, etc. But I think it is quite funny as well, because it's like, so you're basically, I did call out a video guy on it once who was always saying, oh, people are always like, moaning when I give them the price and stuff like that. I said, maybe that's because you're not very transparent about what the price is going to be. People
Yeah.
haven't got a clue. I said, if you don't work in that industry, you've got no idea the amount of work that goes into
Exactly.
producing something. So if you don't tell us, I said, this is an opportunity for you to be telling us in your content exactly how much work does go in, and that's why it costs X, Y, or Z, because we don't know. Like, so
Yeah,
if I inquire to you and you say something's going to be $2,000 and I was expecting it to be 200, just because I haven't got a clue,
yeah,
that doesn't mean that I'm like undervaluing you as much as I just didn't have that
just means-
information.
yeah,
Like,
you don't have the budget, and that is quite a common thing as well. Like E2E Studios, we have our prices starting from, so that gives a benchmark figure that this is
yeah,
the minimum that it'll cost you, but it's not the guaranteed price. Because unfortunately it is a service and it all depends on the client. But there is ones where it's like, if you're just selling, say you're selling a product, well, that product's going to have a price and that product's going to be pretty consistent. So why are you not telling us how much it's going to cost?
yeah, exactly. I try and say, it's going to be from whatever for my CV
Yeah.
writing and stuff, because it's, you've got to give people an idea, I think.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you've also still, you've got bills to pay, you've got a life to lead, you've got to get paid for your work.
Yeah, oh
You
yeah,
know?
absolutely. And for
So
me, a lot of it comes down to how people value themselves sometimes for my type of client,
yeah,
because if someone's value like the best clients value themselves very highly and know that they deserve a really good CV and they're happy to pay
yeah,
plenty of money for it. If you're looking for the bargain basement like stuff, that's just not my
that's just
bag.
not
Like, I'm
happening.
not going to start bartering with you, I'm afraid.
Yeah, because the thing is as well when it comes to prices, because I've noticed that with the cost of living going up, there's been quite a few people lowering their prices to be like, hey, come and work with us. But in my eyes, that's a disservice to them because they no longer value their work. We actually raised our prices recently because we got VAT registered. We lost some clients, yeah, but they just couldn't afford it. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. That happens. And then we started going, right, here's where our ideal clients are, because these ones have dropped off. These ones don't want to do the budget, but these ones do. So your price is also a great way of vetting people. It's a great way of kind of indicating who your ideal clients are as well.
Yeah, of course. And with my stuff, I've tried. That's why I've brought out my course on Teachable, and I've obviously got my book on Amazon. So there are different price points. Like if you can, if you can't afford to pay for a singing or dancing like experience of me of having me write your CV, that's okay. You can still do the course, which is only like £99 or whatever. And people are getting great results from that as well. Like, that some people are, oh god, but I still have to do the CV myself. And I'm like, yeah, but it talks you, it walks you through it,
Yeah,
like talks
it's
you
like
through it as well as
it's
videos. So it makes it as easy as possible. It does work.
yeah. Yeah. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the CV writing and give yourself a little bit of a promo on it? Go for it. Give
Well,
yourself
I
a wee
think,
shout out.
yeah, but I think it's the results to talk for themselves, really. Like, I've got, I think, I want to say 87, might be 88 now, recommendations on LinkedIn. And some of my clients don't even write recommendations because they're, they can't, like I said, if they're in a current job and they're looking for a role, they can't shout about the fact that they're paying for CV services. And other people are fine with it. But I'm lucky. I've got clients that are happy to shout, but people get really good interviews and get amazing job offers. I say it like that because I'm always sometimes surprised myself, because I'll read a CV back and I'm like, that's really good. Did I write that? Because I sometimes forget that I'm actually really good at it. Because I think for me, I've come from a background of doing so many different jobs, and I did proofreading in the business first and some copywriting. And for me, because I've got quite a scientific mind, but really creative as well, the CV is like the perfect balance for those things, because you need a creative edge to it, but also there is a kind of certain structure, to follow for it, because otherwise it won't work. At the end of the day, it needs to present stuff in a certain way so that people will be able to read it at the end of the day. But yeah, bringing out my course a couple of months ago on Teachable has been really good, actually, because it's basically how I do a CV, and me on video, whatever, talking you through it, but you can do it yourself. And I wasn't sure how well that would translate across, because obviously the way I do it, other people might find really difficult. But I've tried to keep it really like straightforward and succinct, because I hate when I watch, like, I know a lot of people love to learn from YouTube videos, right? But I hate really long YouTube videos that are explaining like how to do something, but there's loads of kind of like, oh, blah, blah, do you know what I mean? Like loads of fluff
there's
around
loads of
it.
fluff, yeah.
And it's like, get to the bloody point. Like, what am I actually doing? Like, just what do I do with these things or whatever it is? Like, put this together or whatever. Just tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
So in my videos, I've tried to keep them quite short and to the point.
Yeah.
And there's also a unit on LinkedIn, how to kick ass on LinkedIn, in there that I've added recently, which is quite cool.
Yes.
To help people.
And talking about like fluff and stuff, it's kind of the same when it comes to like LinkedIn, and that fluff is okay in some cases, but in most cases people just want to get to the point. Like, stop it. stop leading me on a journey here. What are you trying to get at? There is ones where explanation pieces do need to be longer, but like if you're doing like top 5 tips, don't tell us the story about why you're doing top 5 tips. Just go, we've come across this, so here's our top 5 tips for you. go have a look.
Unless you're a very good storyteller, and then we'll allow it.
Then we'll allow it. There's some fantastic storytellers out there. But a lot
there's
of
an art to that. I think everyone thinks they can do it. There is a different art to it.
Yeah, there's some fantastic storytellers I follow, and I read their content a lot, and I'm just like, I'm gonna try it, and then I try it, and it just comes out in fluff, and I'm like, how do they do this? Absolute magicians.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good skill to learn, I think. I'm still working on mine.
It is a skill. It's the same way I can tell stories with visuals, but you try and get me to write a story, I'll be like, so it started in this journey on this land, and at this date and this time, and then just keeps going. And I'm like, oh god, how do I stop it?
I do love writing. I mean, I have to say I enjoyed writing my book. And the writing bit was easy for me. It was the bit after, when you come to like publishing on Amazon and all the kind of technical crap that annoyed me.
Yeah. So, is there any kind of myths on LinkedIn that you think we should bust?
I don't know, what would be a good one to bust? Can't think now. You've put me on the spot. I can't think of any myths.
I think one of the best myths to bust is the fact that it's not just business anymore.
Yeah, yeah, true.
It's not just a CV site. It is a full-grown networking extravaganza.
Yeah, and people are on there like to network with other people, like not necessarily because they're looking for work or because they're running a business. Some people are just on there to chat to other people.
Yeah.
And probably, surprising number more of people like that than there used to be.
Yeah, and I think it's great, because I've had some very interesting conversations. But don't get it. Here's another one that we could bust. It's not a bloody dating site.
No, it isn't, but it can be. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think if both people are, reciprocating, that's fine. But I think there's a little bit too much of the one-sided. I've got a DM conversation at the moment that's ongoing. I won't name the person, because I mean, no one would know who it was, but I mean, I'm not going to name and shame, is what I mean.
Yeah.
Because I've decided not to block them. I just want to see how long it's going to go on before, because I'm not responding to them. And they just keep every now and again sending another inappropriate message. It just makes me laugh. And I know I probably shouldn't laugh at it or whatever, but it's just my way of doing it. I find it funny.
I have done that a few times. Like, I'll start the conversation just to, like, they'll be like, hello, and I'll be like, hello. And I'll be like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm good. How are you? And then it starts getting inappropriate, and I'm like, I'm not going to respond now.
Well, this guy proposed to me like last month, so we'll see.
I've had a proposal.
Where can he go from there? Like, that's what
I've had a proposal. They also said that I would benefit from their camel farm, and I'm like, what?
Oh wow, okay, that's very
camel
specific.
Farm?
That's very specific.
Their camel farm?
Okay, well, this guy's in America apparently, but who knows? Obviously.
Who knows?
There's some characters around. I mean, we can joke about it, but actually, obviously, there is some like
there is some very very inappropriate stuff. I've seen Lee Turner gets quite a bit of
Yeah, gosh,
inappropriateness,
she does,
which is
yeah.
absolutely horrendous.
It's
And
ridiculous at times. It's
the
actually ridiculous.
some of the stuff she gets is just, it makes no sense whatsoever what they're saying.
No, but it's the thing is, people there's like a certain type of, and I'm going to say guy because it is mostly men that do it. I'm afraid. Yes, some women do it
Yes,
as well,
women
but
do
it's
it as well. We're
mostly
not
men.
dis-
Okay,
yeah, we're not
I've had a couple of
disclosing.
women do it to me, but it's generally it is men. Okay, and I think they're just a bit deluded, or like I don't know, they're just like living in their own dream world. I think where they just kind of carry on like this conversation, thinking it's going to go somewhere, and
Yep.
it's like so many people give their numbers, like, oh,
Yeah,
this is
they
my
just
WhatsApp, let's
straight
catch up,
away.
let's message. Why would I do that? I don't WhatsApp like anyone apart from friends. Like I don't do any business on WhatsApp. It's just not for me. It's not my thing. I want to keep it just for personal or whatever. So if
Yeah.
anyone tries to message me or phone me, like a client type person, I'm normally like, look, can you just email? Like I don't mind arranging a call on Zoom or whatever, but I'm not just
I'm not
taking
picking up the
random
phone.
messages off people. But I just, so many people are so keen to get you onto WhatsApp and stuff, and you think, well, we know why, but like, just forget it. Like, why am I?
Like,
Well, who's
stop
going to
it.
agree to that? Like, I just,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's bizarre.
I think another one that we'd get is the pitching first. How that does not work.
I know. I think I
like,
almost offended someone yesterday because he sent a really long message, and it was kind of like the preamble to a pitch, basically.
yeah,
And I sort of said, look, that's a very long message. And that's all I said back. I
yeah,
just said, that's a very long message. He went, oh, well, thanks for your feedback. And I was like, I wasn't trying to be like negative necessarily, but just,
yeah,
observational.
yeah.
Like,
Like,
why are you sending this crazy long message to me? Like,
yeah. Like whenever I
seems a
connect
bit
with
much.
someone, I always say about where I've met them or what I've seen from them. So a lot of the time it's FSB meetings. Sometimes it's I've been following your stuff for a while, and then I usually say, if you would like to know more about what I do, please let me know. I'm not saying you must know what I do. I'm saying the choice is yours. And that's okay. But when it is, I'm so and so and I've done this and I'm here to sell you my
The thing
service
is,
because
it's
my
all
service, I'm like,
me as well. That's the
yeah,
mistake people make, because you might even be like vaguely interested in something they're offering. It's unlikely for me. I'm not going to pluck someone out of the air to do a website or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? I'll
yeah,
go use someone that I already know or built some kind of relationship with.
yeah,
But obviously, some people would, and they actually did need that thing, and they'd message on the day. It must work occasionally, otherwise people wouldn't do it at all.
I know.
But
It has
starting
to.
with a me type pitch of like, oh, we've done this, we've done that, like, check us out. It's too much anyway. Like, I don't
Yeah.
see how that works. Just, ask about the person and find out if they've got the pain points that you could fix. Then
Yeah,
maybe
or
that's
like
like,
if they actually have the budget for it, because they could say, yeah, this is great, I really need it, and then you chat to them and they're like, here's £100, and I'm like, what?
oh yeah, someone wanted a free CV the other day. So he'd obviously, I don't know, if it's like it might have been a bit of a language barrier situation, but they'd seen like that I had my free CV template.
Yeah,
And they were like, oh, I've been on your website, I'm looking for the free CV, I can't find it. And I said, well, the template's here, and I sent like a screenshot of, you click here and download it. It's not that
yeah,
difficult. And they were like, oh no, well, that's just a template, I wanted a free CV. And I was like, well, you're
no.
not going to get that from me. Like, just
Yeah,
what? Well, how do I get a free CV? I'm like, well, you're probably not going to from anyone, because
yeah,
it's a service that someone.
yeah.
But like, just some people's expectations are wild, like just of what they expect you to do.
Yeah, it's nuts. We've had people that have spent tons of money on a website, but they haven't vetted their designer or their developer properly. And then it comes to us and they're like, we don't have a budget. And I'm like, well, what kind of do you expect me to do? Like, I can't work for free.
No, exactly. And it does. It's really
Yeah.
undervalues what you do, doesn't it?
I really love, though, when it comes to pitching, is when they pitch you your exact services. That
Yes.
makes me so happy because I'm just like, have you read my profile? That's all I do. I just leave. I go, have you read my
I know, it's
profile?
when people say, "Oh, so what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I normally I say I help people read profiles."
Yeah,
They're like,
it's,
"Huh? What? Oh, okay." The penny drops.
yeah, it makes me laugh. Or ones that I'll be like, well, I've also got a degree in so I've got a degree in computing science, and then they're like, I've got a degree in that as well, and I can do this, that, next thing, and I'm like,
Good
okay,
for you.
cool. So, okay, fine. That is fine. I wasn't pitching you my services, but like, thanks for telling me.
No, exactly.
I think there is a bit of an etiquette when it comes to approaching someone on there. It's the thing is we've discovered on our websites and clients' websites that most of the traffic now goes to the about page because they want to find out who someone is or who's working behind the team, if their values or
That's
their mission
interesting.
statements actually match up.
Yeah, I think it means a lot more to people than it used to, actually.
Yeah, and it's the same with like we've had people ask us about green hosting, and I'm like, yeah, we do it. We don't advertise it because it's not like green hosting is kind of a weird thing because sometimes it's green, sometimes it's not. At the end of the day, it's still energy kind of thing. So it's very hard to kind of advertise it as green. But we do have that available. Or they'll particularly bond with like one of the members of the teams. Like we have different clients that'll only talk to different member of the team kind of thing because that's who they want to talk to. And I'm like, you know what, cool, if that's their preference, that's fine. We've also seen in like the social medias that people want to know more about who's behind the company and what their values are, what their thoughts are, their reactions to things are. So the days of just going around and slapping a sales pitch in someone's face, you can still do it. We're not saying don't. We're not saying stop. I'm just saying you can still do it, but the approach now needs to be a little bit different because I know when I'm being marketed to. I know when I'm being
Yeah, of
sold
course we
to.
do. It's when people start off with, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And you just think, "Hang on a minute, you're about to pitch me, aren't you?"
Yeah.
And I actually normally cut people off at the pass. And I said, "If you're going to pitch, just don't bother."
Yeah. It's the same.
I'm happy to connect, just don't pitch me.
Yeah, the same with like the hello dear. I'm like, oh no.
I know, your heart sinks, doesn't it?
I know.
The thing is, I'll say to people, like, if I connect with someone and they have got like a green thing and they're obviously job seeking, I'll be like, if you need any help with your CV, let me know. Like, if you need any free feedback on your CV, because it's something I offer as a free CV review, then let me know, and I get a member of the team to, just upload it on the site. Member of the team will give you some feedback. By offering like that, it's quite a sort of like, if they don't want it, it's fine, and you're not kind of like going in hard with a, quickly buy all my services now type thing, because they might not be interested, and that's the thing. I think you have to have some level of buying signal back. Personally, otherwise I think it's just a bit uncomfortable and awful.
Yeah,
It's like,
it is. It so is. It's like I always like
not
connecting.
for me, anyway.
I love connecting with people after I've been to a networking event. I don't connect with the intention to sell. I connect with the intention to grow my network and kind of get to know these people, get to know what their business is doing, see what posts they put out, and if I see something, if I've grown to know, like, and trust someone, if a piece of work comes up, then yeah, I'm gonna go check out these guys. Because again,
exactly, because you know of them, you've become aware of them, and you actually did meet them, and whatever. It's like, exactly.
And then
it comes back to,
it comes back to being collaborative more than competitive. So if someone's wanting to connect with you, make sure the message is friendly and approachable, not you want to buy my stuff, because you'll be like, but I don't.
No, exactly. Yeah, don't be annoying.
Yes, pretty much. So, shall we finish this up with what are your top 3 tips for people to make LinkedIn work for them?
Okay, well, I think I'll start. The first tip is probably one of the first things I said, which is be yourself.
Yeah.
I think the more you can be yourself, the better. And I think as humans, we're very good at picking up on when people aren't themselves or if anything's, not quite right. So if you're being genuine, it will come across, and they tend to be the people that do best. I think the people that are most themselves. The second one I would say is be consistent, because it's easy to sort of try a bit, even just commenting here or doing a post there, and then be, oh, it's not working, this is crap, or get distracted by something else, or go off and do something. If you can be consistent with LinkedIn, it will start to work for you. If you just do the odd post once a month, don't expect it to be. You get out what you put in, really. And it's the same with any social media platform, because it is about being social. At the end of the day, you have to put something in.
Yeah.
The platform isn't going to show your stuff to people if you're never like on it,
Yeah.
because it's just how algorithms work. And I guess for my third one, I would say try new things. Like, don't be scared to get out of the comfort zone and try new stuff. Like, if you don't normally do videos, maybe try some videos or try different types of images, but then have some level of tracking of what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
Because it's good to just mix it up a bit, and it's okay also to fail. Like, if you do something and it's a nightmare, like I've done the odd post and it's completely flopped, and you think, okay, oh well, no, hardly anyone will notice
well.
because they won't have seen it anyway.
Yeah.
But no one cares. Like, no one cares about your stuff as much as you do. So just don't be afraid to like try new stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute kick-ass experience.
Thanks for inviting me on.
And if you would like to just promote some of your services again, and how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, well, obviously, if you find me on LinkedIn, Rebecca Pay, without the kick-ass in the middle, but with an ice cream at the end. If you go on my profile, my website's on there. You can get a free CV template, or you can get a free review, as I've said. And obviously, my back section explains about my other services. But yep, CV writing is where it's at. So check it out.
Brilliant. And remember, everyone, to join us next week. We're stream live on a Thursday at 11 a.m. on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube at the same time, so you can view us on whatever platform you prefer. So we will see you next time. Bye.